My Muslim name is Khalil and I reverted to Islam 16th of May, Fajr time, 2010. Growing up in my household, there wasn't a strict criteria for faith. My parents were good, they taught me good values. I remember we had a conversation one point and I can't remember what it was, but we were asking, he goes, oh, God knows, God knows. And I always thought it was funny, even the atheist or disbeliever, they would even say, oh, God knows, or for God's sake. I was referred to Umar Chowdhury, brown skin but very well spoken, so it was a mystery as to the background. Before this happened, I was given a documentary talking about at least three religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam. This is where a key change happened with me. I never knew that Adam, peace be upon him, was mentioned in the Quran. So I'm not understanding or appreciating the context. It prompted me to look at faith, trying to find my way with it as well. I would pray at night and I would say, oh God, what is my obligation? Make it clear to me so an idiot would know. Bismillah, my name is Carl Ferguson. My Muslim name is Khalil Ferguson and I reverted to Islam 16th of May, Fajr time, 2010. Growing up in my household, there wasn't a strict criteria for faith or not. I mean, that my parents were good, they taught me good values, and my mother was more inclined to be a believer of sorts, or within the Christian dynamics of somehow. But I think you have some people where they will believe as in terms of what's comfortable for them, as opposed to following a strict criteria of something where faith is based on. My father really doesn't really pay religion any kind of mind at all. I think as I've grown older, I realize that my father's an atheist and believes more in science and things like this. There was one point I was in a very sort of dark point in my life where nothing really meant anything at all. And there wasn't any hobbies or anything that I liked. For some reason, everything just became boring to me. And I don't know why it became boring to me, but it did become extremely, extremely boring. And I thought, there is something wrong with me. What is it in life that I like? And I remembered I always liked martial arts or certain things. I think I'm at least 24, probably a bit younger. I'll get into that and then I would find my way to learning martial arts. I was originally going to Luton. I was referred to Umar Chowdhury, who's a lovely Bengali brother, Bangladeshi by origin. I remember we had a conversation one point and I can't remember what it was, but we were asking, he goes, oh, God knows, God knows. And I always thought it was funny, even the atheist or disbeliever, they would even say, oh, God knows, or for God's sake. So there's even a natural inclination, whether they wanted to say it's just a saying or whatever else. But if you were so affirmed and you're not a believer, that would not be part of your vocabulary, saying or no saying, as far as I'm concerned. So I said to him, do you believe in God? He was like, yeah. I was like, seriously? He was like, yeah. Because I wasn't sure what he was. I didn't know whether he was a Muslim or whether this is brown skin, but very well spoken. So it was a mystery as to the background of this gentleman. So I was like, really? It's like, yeah, because why is that such a hard thing to get? Oh, interesting. Because why is that interesting? I said, I've always found that even if they're good or bad, there is something a bit different about people that believe in God. And I feel that there is a stronger dynamics of the ideals to do good or be good. And he goes, oh, interesting. As they're moving forwards, I was getting indirect dawah with this like little booklet from Bilal Phillips. But before this happened, I was given a documentary talking about at least three religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam. This is where a key change happened with me, because I'm just Mr. Neutral. I don't know anything. I had to wait 3 months. This was not him being whatever else. He did it on purpose. If he's watching, Umar, you know, because you have an understanding of human psychology, and he's chuckling to himself as he's hearing this from me, if he does see this. He left it 3 months. And I know because later on, when I saw in the documentary, there was a section where if the student is thirsty, you give him half a cup. You give him a little bit of water. And if he asks for the rest, then you give it to. Because why are you going to waste your time and energy if somebody deliberately chooses ignorance? And at that point, there will be a fine line between ignorance and arrogance. But before he gave it to me, he said, look, it's from an Arab perspective. He says, so I don't know if you're going to like that or appreciate that. I said, if I do not know what an Islamic perspective is, how can I have any right at all to have any kind of comment in any way, shape, or form, in any regard, on what a Muslim perspective is? Surely I would need to listen, absorb it, and come to my own conclusions, give it some fair due process. And then I'm watching it, and then there are some very profound things within this documentary that are, undeniable. And if I fast forward, it was through that process of the documentary that I realized God is real. I have to find myself correct within the monotheistic faith. And I said to myself, well, I can't go with what the Jews are saying because they're still waiting for Jesus, peace be upon him. And this thing about Islam is new information to me because I thought the last messenger was Jesus, peace be upon him. So now I felt there was an onus on me to try and discover, well, if there was another messenger, how does that relate? Because I never knew that Adam, peace be upon him, was mentioned in the Quran. I never knew that Mary, mercy and peace be to her, and peace be upon Jesus, was mentioned in the Quran. So I'm not understanding or appreciating the context. As I was going through this documentary, I would say more or less my spiritual journey began. It prompted me to look at faith. I started going to church. I also started going to the wise masjid as well, and I started looking into things to try and build up an understanding. And so, for example, I'm going to a church that says, "Thou shalt create no graven images in the heavens, the earth, or the sea below." But I'm seeing stained glass windows with all this. You go to church on Sunday and you're seeing women done up in a bit of a way where you shouldn't. It's a bit hard to focus sometimes. Biology being what it is saying Jesus, peace be upon him, is God, or whatever else. And I went, what? What is this? How dare you? There is only one God. It is not a false doctrine of the Trinity introduced at the Council of Nicaea where people don't want to do enough investigation upon that, whatever. But I realized then I was more in tune with Islam, trying to find my way with it as well. I would pray at night and I would say, oh God, if it's Jesus, Adu Billah for saying this, I said, if it's Jesus, let me know. If it's Islam, let me know. How should I be, I know my questions in prayer was, how should I be revering Jesus, peace be upon him? How should I revere Muhammad, peace be upon him? What is my obligation? Make it clear to me so an idiot would know. An idiot would get it. Because I need it delivered that nicely.
The work of supporting new Muslims continues year-round, and you can be part of it. Over the past 5 years, IRA has been blessed at being able to introduce Islam to more than 400,000 people. These individuals need our constant support as they navigate their new faith. Your contribution of £50 to support one new Muslim gives them essential guidance and support. Click the link below, share the video, and let's go back to that interview, shall we?
I remember when I was walking through the town, and then as soon as I come out from this little bit of the town that I'm walking, I look across, there's a table with about 10 Muslims around it with beards, and there's all stuff to collect. That's amazing. So I just went up to them and I goes, oh, hey, you guys are Muslims, right? And the brother at the time, his name was Mozam, and he goes, yes, we are. He goes, what do you think it is that gave us away? He just chuckled about it. And I said, oh, what can I take? He goes, oh, this is all free. I'm like, free? Because I remembered when I wanted to get a copy of the Bible, they're going to charge me £4 or £5. So there's a price there, but this was free. I was like, wow. I was like, you know, wow. What's the catch? I must have taken about 7, 8 DVDs and maybe about the same in leaflets. But I went through all the DVDs relentlessly. I remember receiving some dawah. Dear brother Hakeem is not with us anymore. May Allah give him Jannah. I mean, I was in a car park with him 16th of May Fajr time at 3 in the morning. I remember he wanted to go into the masjid to pray, and I was going to wait in the car, and I was feeling very tired. And then I ended up falling asleep in the back of the car. And then one thing snapped me out of that was because I realized I hadn't prayed. Because whilst I was looking into Islam for over a year, I was always at least doing one prayer every night before I went to bed. So my head would be always like on the floor or at least my head would be on my bed, but I'd be face down. And I remember when I woke up and I hadn't prayed, I was like, okay, I need to find something. And I looked at myself going back a whole year. I said, I am more like these Muslim than I am ever like the Christian. What I'm doing is not really that different. I would just go in there and I would pray with the rest of them. This was where I had to demand my Shahada. It wasn't given to me. I had to demand it. I had my faith, my zeal of emotion like this big, far further than my arms could stretch, like wings out. And I'm there and I want to take my Shahada and I'm excited. And the brothers that know me that are annoyed because some of them are sleeping or some of them don't realize yet. And they're like saying, why didn't you take it when we were around? I said, look, I'm taking it on my time, not your time. Just be happy that I'm taking my Shahada. But some of them really wanted to be there. In the end, may Allah bless him, lovely brother Ashfaq comes in. He goes, what's going on? What's going on? He's going, oh, something I haven't done the Shahada before. But then the brother's saying, oh, but it's in the prayer. He goes, oh, but he says it's in the prayer. So it's in the prayer. What's going on? Do they do the prayer, but they don't understand the prayer when they pray? So just calm down, calm down, calm down. He goes, come sit down with me. Let's talk about, first of all, what you know about Islam. You know, so tell me what you know. Yes, Muhammad, peace be upon him. Revelation came to him. You know, it was an angel Jibreel in the cave. At that time, there were Arabs. They were going through all kinds of paganism, transgression, and this and that, the other. And Revelation came to bring Muhammad right. It came to him in a cave. He's like, oh, wow, you know a lot. He goes, yeah, no kidding. Do you think I can take my Shahada now? He's like, all right, calm down, calm down, calm down. Yeah, there's a calm down. And he like goes, I can see the note this one. He goes, okay, so repeat after me. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. You know, and I'm like, that was it, signed, sealed, and delivered. But when I took my Shahada, it was like, remember when I mentioned wings spread out? I almost took it on a thread because I was finding it really difficult. And I remember after my Shahada, I was really downhearted and I was sad, and I wondered if I did the right thing. Because I thought, should such a thing have been such a trial? Now I'm thinking that, but I don't know. Allah knows best. Allah is the best of planners. And I remember speaking to Mozam, and may Allah bless him, and I go with what he said to this day. He says, Akhi, you've been looking into Islam over a year. You probably know really what it is that you're getting into. And perhaps, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing you to see how badly you want it. And I remember once another time when I was so happy that I wanted to give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something. And I was even making dua, Allah, how do I say thank you? I don't know what to do. I'm so happy. So I ended up just going in prostration. I just ended up going in prostration and just thanking Allah in prostration because I didn't know what else to do. And then sometimes later, I don't know whether it was a few weeks or a few months, when I look in the Fortress of the Muslim, which is some essential literature for us, for our steadfastness and perseverance. He said, "Oh, how Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was to give thanks to Allah." I was like, "Wow, okay, yeah, I mean, look at that." Because I was stuck one day. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would prostrate, and so I did exactly what it was. So these things, you know, they're really like amazing and precious to me. My mother wasn't fazed really, because she just thought, oh, you know, people go through phases. They're going through this kind of phase or that kind of phase. So regarding the conversation with my mother, when I said to her, I've become Muslim, I'm Muslim now, she's like, oh, right, okay. And she carries on watching the telly. And then as she's watching the TV, I had time to sort of process my thoughts on this. And I was like, Mum, if you think this is what he's doing now, it's just a phase. I'm waiting for whatever the next phase is going to be. I said, it's not a phase. I said that this is actually happening and it is something that shall remain. Then she sort of turned back and then looked at me seriously. And I was like, okay, so, you know, what's your feedback? She goes, nothing, I'm fine. I goes, you sure? She goes, as long as you don't blow anyone up, I'm fine. And I said, oh, and I made a joke. I said, oh, because they had this deal that if I get 2 boxes of dynamite, I get a free box of fireworks for the kids. My father didn't really care. He's neutral. You have to get past a thick skin to sort of shock my dad in some kind of way. Before I became Muslim, I was already a father, I had a son. I couldn't cohabit with his mother. In the beginning, when I had to pray in the house, if I was there to visit my son or whatever else, on my journeys to Islam, I can give her credit. She was very respectful, would say to her kids, Lionel and Andreas, not to laugh, not to make fun, you know, if someone's praying, whatever else. So, you know, I have, you know, she was very respectful in that sense. But I found that throughout the process, me becoming Muslim made her become more stronger in her faith, but then more because she was worrying about the safety of her son, though she didn't really need to. And it caused some more problematic factors along the way. But it's just been a trial and a test, and to the point now where my son has fallen in line with his mother's way of thinking and belief system. And that is very painful, because people have the ability to judge things and conclude things and assess things. But in order for those tools to be utilized to their full potential, in order for them to have the highest levels of success and chances of working, it has to be on a neutral basis. Because if there is any element of an unnecessary bias or things that are not substantiated or supported accurately, you will then succumb to wrong outcomes, wrong conclusions, and it would be an injustice. The same way if someone's in court, not hearing your side properly, not granting you fair audience, not giving you due justice or due process. I said, this is what you're doing with the religion of Islam. Again, it's like words falling on deaf ears. So what can you do? I think dawah is a beautiful thing. I think what's more of a challenge is keeping the consistencies around the dawah. And I remember when I was being given dawah, it was amazing. And when I became Muslim, there was this great support for 2 months. And then after 2 months, it dissipated. Brothers were back to their favored circles rather than coming out of their shell and trying to create new circles and maintain that. And it was a beautiful journey, but then after a certain point, I was on my own. I missed that. I wondered, was it me? Is it that they're happy to help me, but is there something about my character or personality that didn't, for so many brothers to be around or whatever else? I don't know. I felt was very sad, and that was a big test in itself. And then I realized that no matter what it is, you know, Allah is always there. Regarding non-Muslims that are thinking of taking their Shahada, I would recommend make a connection with these masjids, because they do have projects essentially pray to God first for guidance, and the more sincere you are, the more everything else will fall into place. My comfort and my peace always comes with salah, and knowing that everything's with Allah, and that, you know, we just have to find our way irrespective of what our position is in life. And even if we can't rectify every single little problem that is a problem, that we at least move in a direction to try our best to try and solve whatever problems there are within the best of our abilities.